our living room, as we describe it, which is some kind of the entrance. It's called the Torino Bortolone. Its origins was the new. This was supposed to be the new capital of Italy. What happened before those people felt really impressed by their vitality and their capacity to San Charles Borromeo, living in Milan, and he was making a vow, praying that he would go by feet. A humble copy of the same style, realized one century later. Why is that? Because Santa's family was always something else, and so we had to do the project and realize that like this is told by our modern remodelation of that part of Via Roma. That's the name of this world nowadays. That's why, right after the end of World War II, that little gallery, Victor Emmanuel II, there's a little looking like this one. And my guess, they started there.
Wow.
So this is our substitution. There, 11 years ago, this was a parking lot. That created Italy. I don't know if you know Then, something a bit more, middle of the first king of Italy, who was a descendant of this branch of the Savoy's family. What happened? Maybe you know something a little about the noble families in Europe. They had a principal branch and secondary one. If the marriages combined between prime cousins, they weren't able to have another king to be the heir, to be the new king. So they had to go back in time, pick the secondary branch, and select the Salis Cardinal of the time, which was Charles Albert, the father of Victor Emmanuel II, which will become the first king of Italy. They have the same age, 1679, the noble school, 1679. Power comes from Rome, from and it was all the facade decoration, which is repeated in a very clever way. They haven't WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, or whatever. So they were communicated with a game made in candles, light or not, and when the kings came back in Europe, their original throne, up to there is brick made in a side and in the other, but some bricks are younger than the other. Can you hear me?
Now.
Okay. I told you, behind those three windows, you had the antique parliamental room. See? Right. These are pretty good.
Normally,
And so I have to go like this room with a capacity of 204 people. So limited number of people, because at the time it was the parliament, but besides the family at the time, Desmond and Sabine. Then it was always doing something. So they decided to pick him, Savoy Cardinal, who spent 16th life of his childhood being educated in a very liberal way, with the idea of freedom, convincing him it was worth to help when he was regent in the name of the actual shortly of the time, and then it killed everybody of the courtiers of that point too. And on the other side, Margherita, so the first king of Italy and the first queen, they weren't together. The first queen of Italy is the wife of the second king. Why is that? Because his wife died before the unification, 1855. So Margherita is the first king of Italy, and the name should ring a bell. The pizza was titled to her. And you see her with the typical pearl necklace from here to the feet. Okay, and the little guy there. That is three. Before it was designed to celebrate the new materials that create the dough, which were steel and factories, and the brand new face of the city, as we will see today, seeing the second factory of Fiat car manufacturer here in Turin. A lot of this, the only one of a huge tradition. The other one grabbing in a handful and then running and then eating all the chocolate. There's the other one which is scientifically eating one. This bright shade. They were irregular, that good looking at the beginning. So the genius that created them, he also said, well, let's wrap them into a good. They came back, they bought this place already like it is today. So all the decoration are original of the first theater in Italy, destroyed by a fire, made of silk and enlightened with candles. That was pretty common. From here, we start history on the other side. So, walk. The same one that realized that that side of the garden in France at the time of Louis XVI. They say never but do this, does it, and they say brings good luck. Okay, the monument. They were meant to use the architect to impress the visitor, right? You see the garden behind. This is a pattern that you will find in any royal residence of the 17th and 18th century. The son, Victor Emmanuel II, living this building as his office, let's say. You can see here are now protected by UNESCO. They are all property of the state and cared by the local community. Land, which is one of the four Roman doors at the time in which the city was called Iulia Augusta Taurinorum. That was the way to Mediolanum at the top of the tower. We call them merli. I don't know the word. The left one is higher than the other one. Be all the day seeing mountains. So that is the direction of Val d'Aosta, those Alps that you see. Okay. Then the tower. This is what would happen in the look there, there's a copy of the Last Supper from Leonardo da Vinci. One simple story. In this story, we see some lessons from the Renaissance, including perspective, including color. Very easily, and you can tell the Renaissance was important during Renaissance. You see behind the altar, it's a trompe-l'œil, which is a French word to say to trick the eye. It's a false perspective projected and designed to show you how it looked like the interior part of the Holy Shroud site, and a huge high dome, higher than the one of this church we are in. So that wall was painted right after the fire, because there was a glass separation between this church and the Holy Shroud Chapel. And while we walk in the church, you will know, then you will see the most beautiful copy that we have in town to see the actual. Sometimes it happens that you hear that, and it has an incredible sound. Like this, you see those two red baskets that I described, arching one on top of the other in a repetition of the number 8, the symbol of infinity. He was a mathematician, always playing with numbers. You would create this huge structure. This was a complicated task. The lower later, still there. Hopefully next year will be reopened. The building. When you do that staircase, reaching the window, you will find yourself facing there. To give a message to the king. Guess who's ruling? Century passed since the arrival of this genius of architecture that realized a church which is structured in three different levels. As I showed you, we have a lower part which has richer decoration. It's really heavy in colors and in numbers of stages. The second level, in the circle, there are little pads. Those are angels realizing the idea of the priest was the word of the day. I'll show you the painting, which is our friend St. Lawrence. St. Lawrence, according to Can you also see from there that there are bricks, which you can see. It's not all painted. Okay, you are in the point where the painting and it still works. And you have to trust me on this one, even though I'm Italian.
Cool.
It's 21 of March, still repeats, still works. Give the impression of the body in the right part. So it's from and clear right around. So the impression is not just on the part of the fabric. The arm which was used doing that, then becomes asphyxiation. So when of the city are close one to the other, the church, the town hall, and the royal palace, and they are all connected. First of all, an impressive color to have the French style in the one that was her house. Then a second lady came, and those huge graces, the wood structure of different circles, maybe like or wood, are connected together. That's to reach the bar. It's also the name of the second factory that Fiat had realized.
Not like American.
On the square, we pass very little of them, and then you can tell that is chessboard made this town. We're going to go close around the city, and the apartment, the one that you see there, the second enlargement of the city. Well, using the map, one quick
is filled with, saying that a French soldier tried to enter the church to steal, converted to Catholicism after that. So nobody ever on Saint Valentino, the saint of the look-alike of the French residents. It was remodeled by Marie-Christine de France, the aunt of Louis XIV, with this kind of
from there on top, and those can go up to 3,000, 4,000.
this room in a bubble of glass with the helicopter plate. Sorry? Pad. Thank you so much. And the other one is the shrine containing the collection. On the right you see the bubble, the glass room for private meeting, and the pad for the helicopters. And there's a roof that was a track that was used to test the cars after two great events. And under the staircase there are the bones of everybody that lost their life in the Russian campaign during World War I and World War II. So it's a king of restoration, and there are two other stages of the self into the Villa della Regina, which is why the rising up of our 1,200 feet.
This is a way of representing metaphorically the origin of the city, Julia Augusta Taurinorum, that population living before the Romans, barbarian, similar. Huge dome, that is the Mola Antonelliana, I told you, symbol of unification, cinema museum of nowadays. So using that reference, you can tell that there was a city center of Turin. Let's go back to the walls that Napoleon destroyed. When the city was surrounded by walls, and it has this elliptical shape, at a certain
Oh, I'm sorry.
massive crown on top of the altar. It's a celebration of the dynasty of the Savoy family. The scene portrayed there in the altar is the siege of 1706. So there's the battle in the lowest, the descendant was considered to be blessed. So he is interceding to Mother Mary directly on his right, asking help in this complicated moment in the battle. So basically the altar is a sarcophagus, a central grave, who was designed to host the king in charge in the moment of the death of the king in charge. So the land of the Lisbon Benfica's team, goodbye to the football. So traveling back, horrible weather, they hit it here. While we walked, you probably saw that there are pieces missing in the monastery. They decided to leave it like that. They were hit by pieces of the aircraft crashing and exploding everywhere. So what happens 1942 and 1949 when the accident happened and so forth?
And who's the man in the middle, the director?
Yes, no, equipaggio, Livesley, giornalisti,
No.
all other person.
These are fans,
Fans.
fans to
Right.
call. That maybe some of them died.
Yes.
So they brought it.
And we do.
And there's a part of this building that remains damaged.
That was wonderful.
Italianized, we believe in Florence, and Israel. For example, the same.
It seems like lemon juice. So it's useful for the process because it increases the acidity of the milk. Okay? And then they add the rennet. The only rennet that we use for lemon cheese is cow rennet. So the stomach fluid of the baby cows reduced like a powder. They're gonna use from 15 to 25 grams each time. So very short quantities, but the effect is big. It's a big effect. So now these two processed milk, they bring the lemon cheese. Cheese they obtain small words. More or less the right grain like sausage. With this alone is more or less 200 pounds. Oh my God. And so using now you can see the texture of this product is full of cream. And the way so they must be so coordinated. One guy is one wooden spoon, goes under the kitchen and the two other three workers they carry like so they see the sound. It's very important for them the same progression. They start from that, they're gonna see now test it how soft it is. Now stay behind just to make sure that the water is strange that so soft cheese will become the farm like a rock cheese we are able to buy, but this is just the beginning. The young generation they don't want to do anymore this kind of life, so they prefer other way to develop it. see before that they are transparent here. So with the cheese cloth around, they put inside this plastic form with a heavy plastic wheel on top to squeeze the liquid. And you see, the concept is that it's possible to strip like this, and you can break it or open it, enlarge it like this. To DOP law. You know the meaning of DOP system certification?
Yes.
DOP in Italian means denominazione di origine protetta, protected designation of origin. Is a European quality brand certified traditional product. Italy is the country in Europe that has most, of course. You're not crazy. This is the number, the VAT number. So 21, these two wheels are twins. Comes from the same touch if you want. You can feel that you have salt here. This is a simply water saturated in Switzerland. Nothing else. In this company, due to these water constructor, they can do investment to improve. Similar, and then you're gonna reduce the water.
This is it.
No,
This is it.
The temperature is 27, 28 Celsius to expel the salt in excess. Open the pores and sweat. It's like a sauna. It's like a sauna.
Cheese sauna.
Yes. It's like this. It's like this. Back.
Mr. Cheese.
Mr. Cheese. So, another one. We have a lifter here. Just this machine. Cheese is fine. Out from the shelf. Brush it. There is another one working. Brush it, dry brush it,
Yeah.
and then flip it and put again in the same position. They do.
Here he comes now.
And then cheese is branded. This means that it's real Parmigiano Reggiano. Technically, all those wheels are not Parmigiano Reggiano yet, until they are inspected, even if it's written on the side. So is the fire brand.
April 1920. Your skin?
Hasn't tried it yet, but this
Maintains the wheel, but they search for holes, cracks, and bubbles in all sign of a secondary and unexpected fermentation. The bacteria reactivate, create gas production, and the gas fill the holes, like the Swiss cheese, you know, the holes. For them, it's a sign of quality. For us, it's a defect. So, to taste it simply, the expert of the consortium heats it from the core to the edge, listening to the sound. The sound must be like this, with a certain tension and a full sound. Not like this. Okay? Now I'm simulating just a cavity with my hand, but this is the sound of the failed one. So if sounds like this, there is something wrong in, I told you, if it's perfect, they apply this fire brand. So
You're kidding.
wrong one. They would have put on the back. There you go. Yeah, I see you're helping over there.
Yeah,
He's helping a lot.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, he's
See?
filming this whole thing. He's gonna show the picture.
Yeah. Everybody.
in here.
Gianni, fatti una cosa, tu
Other than the salami.
Okay, but for the son.
Noi siamo in televisione per un anno con la mia azienda, noi per un anno sugli spot della cucina intero.
That's right, and I saw it on television on the Food Network.
Yeah.
I saw it on TV.
la messa televisione.
Sì?
Yes, please.
Ok.
Yes, please.
Ok signori, siamo pronti, allora buongiorno a tutti.
Days they have to stay here with a temperature between 1 and 3 degrees centigrade.
Finito questo periodo viene tolto il sale rimanente con una macchina apposta, massaggiato dentro una macchina massaggiatrice, appesi una corda e comincia l'asciugamento.
Okay, here then it has to take out the exceed of salt, and so with a machine it's sort of it does a sort of massage, you know. 20 days they start the drying the season.
Yes.
Qui rimarranno i primi 20 giorni in una cella d'aria, adesso al momento ferma, una cella d'aria e a 2 gradi, è ancora una fase molto delicata.
This is still a very dedicated moment after the first 20 days because it stays here for another 20 giorni.
20 giorni e poi
With
abbiamo,
a temperature which is of 2 degrees centigrade.
abbiamo 4 di queste celle, passano ogni 20 giorni, cambiano cella, rimarranno oltre 4 mesi.
They have 4 of these rooms, and they have to switch them around. Water is not it's warm water, which is in 40 degrees centigrade, which more or less is like 100 more or less.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Allora come sembrano perché hanno
Allora, le prime soluzioni che sono abbastanza prima erano
the first 2 rooms in Paris, they have to stay at 2. They put, these special fat, which is made out comes from the water, right? And it's made out with some flavors. In Garibaldi Square.
Where were those shops down here?
Glass, is it possible to open?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
The glass is...
Yeah. Yeah. From the glass, is it possible to move?
Wait, back there. Now if we sing, we could. It's like a light up.
Home to the airport, but they had a coffee. We went waiting tears. We had never seen
So which is the more modern bridge.
Yeah,
One back there was
right. I guess we paid them too, right?
Yep. Oh, I know what we do.
It's one of the rest hotels.
That's your reference.
I don't know how we got in this. It was like expensive, but
When I was
after
I did Canal Bay. That's called
I could never stay there now.
You see the movie in the cruise? No.
Up there. You think? Or maybe they're hotel rooms.
Hotel that could.
Yeah. I don't know. Rainy season. Yeah, I don't Look how close it is to the doors of these windows.
Did it smell?
Didn't smell.
No, I don't remember.
I don't smell it now. I guess I was going to find some.
I wonder if did they...
Statues. Most important members of the nation. And low relief, stone carving of the cities and islands they control. The uniform of the Venetian Navy with the rod of command. That was very with a resurgent practical problem that we have a lot of decoration. Because also in the past more numerous vessels, boats, and the tower typically would have a church with a tower and so bearing of the shepherd, which is even they have made a vow to honor Mary, Queen of Heavens, when there was a terrible epidemic, and so for her protection during this epidemic, they promised to make to erect a church that was called a saloon. For instance, against the one that we're going to lay some that was made in albo idziemy tam, they've never reckoned anything of importance because one of the early Jews had been assassinated. Now in the early days, the turmoil, there were blood feuds and violent opposition, even assassination of adultery. So here one of them was and it's up to you.
The trains are from 35.
Yes, there's some in case, you know.
In Montesano.
Allora, look,
A me buongiorno vi contavo.
Castle. If you really want the end of this wall here, right away, there's a staircase. There's also a picture of the castle. Attention.
Oh, those are bad. Down that way and look around, huh?
Siamo usciti, abbiamo fatto 2-3 km.
Beautiful?
Gorgeous.
Bello, bello. Nice.
I was just thinking of these turns, you know. If you got the window open, turn that. Yes, nice. The air.
Stiamo andando verso il massimo della luce, no? Questo il massimo è 21 di giugno, poi
I think they still have.
aspetta dell'aria, un po' da
They had.
Allora, even if the season has not really started yet because we have had, lots of nice weather all through yet, but the hotel is provided with a swimming pool, that you can use it. The water is there. The only thing is that it's not.
Right, Paul? Titicaca.
Right, whatever.
That's gorgeous. Oh, I wear them. I am ruthless. I bought a Mercedes. Yeah, well, that's how I was yesterday for the big. Yeah, now I gotta take the taxi.
ok. Seulement 15. The square, a couple of side streets, not that much. It's mostly just, really the harbor around, sleeping. And I don't know. Now, anyway, if you like, it has a foreign name, just because the castle dates back to the 15th century. But
We're huge movie people. We started going in college when we were doing. We started going to movies a lot. We still do.
She did sculpture. And she was never taught, but she did it. Yeah, she was very talented. So I've always...
I would say that we do until
I think it says it originally. Go into the menu.
Genova attracts visitors, from all over Italy and also from abroad. It's an interesting aquarium. It's a big city, yes. That's very important. Exactly. No, not this island. The next one. It occupies most of the island. The mother island, the botanical garden, real botanical garden. But also the vegetation in the garden. Intento di entrare in Salento.
Read up on it, decide what's the Alright, I'm gonna see what's up there, Oh wow.
Devi vedere i fiori.
I pesciolini.
here is Como. You see, this is the big
that house
town
was
here, about 100,000,
Whatever it is.
population. That's where we're going, Como. Como town. Como gives the name, to the lake, The area was colonized, it was a colony, Roman colony. We know about the last days of Pompeii, actually. See? And so,
We are in Como here, and we are in the western side of the lake. And there is a branch of the lake you don't see right now. It will be
villa which belonged to